paper on the star. My boss says it all the time. He's like, it's not normal. He said that all 14 guys I work with, I got more certificates and accomplishments and awards from different senators. He goes, it's just that people remember it. Because you help them, then they remember. Kind of like my good buddy Lee. She's a big presence. Hey, Lee. Lee, you gonna be nice today? My son's in the audience. I can't see him. Gonna scan that. In the front row. A little way. Did you stop?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to reconvene our meeting. I call for a motion and a second. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Jackie, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Murphy? Mrs. Mallon? Present. Mrs. Kennedy?
Present.
Dr. Adams? Present. Mrs. Augulus? Present. Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno?
Present.
Mrs. Hutchinson? Present. Mr. Kolahifar?
Present.
Mr. Hauser?
Present.
Mrs. Poppy? Present. And myself, Ms. Kemp?
At this time, I would like Mrs. Luann Regensburg to approach the dais, please. And she's here talking tonight about Beats for Liam.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the invite tonight. As stated, I am Luann Regensburg, a former Connecticut High School graduate and a member of this community for a long time. I've lived in the district since I'm 6 years old, married over 31 years, asked to move closer to work. We moved 3 houses down. I don't have to make a left. I'm about 3 seconds closer to work. I'm also a very proud mother of 2 sons, Liam and Colin. 2 amazing sons, so alike and yet so different. Colin, my youngest, loves sports, whether it be watching or playing. Football is in his blood, basketball, hockey, you name it, that child loves sports. Liam, my oldest, loved adventures and outdoor wilderness activities. He loved hiking and camping and building everything out of anything. He loved collecting coins at a very young age, and he was the youngest member of the American Numismatic, and I still, after all these years, can't say it, of the society in the local Sayville chapter. He was an avid Cub Scout, Boy Scout, and was 2 patches shy of his Eagle Scout. He loved history, movies, and wanted to be a policeman like his father. Colin, my youngest, loved a large social circle. Liam was much more comfortable in a smaller social circle. Colin was on the shorter stature. Liam at 16 was 6'2". Colin, my youngest, is a Connecticut graduate. Unfortunately, my oldest one didn't get that opportunity. You see, on the night of Hurricane Sandy, October 29, 2012, my beautiful 16-year-old boy, Liam, went to sleep, all excited that school was closed on Monday because of the approaching hurricane. He never woke up that morning. He passed in his sleep unexpectedly from an unknown heart condition. a condition called sudden cardiac death or sudden cardiac arrest, SCA. Sudden cardiac death is not a heart attack. A heart attack is caused by a blockage in the coronary artery that blocks flow to the heart. A heart attack usually happens mostly in people over 35. Sudden cardiac death or sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical malfunction that causes the heart to suddenly, unexpectedly stop beating. It could happen at any age, including children and teens. In fact, sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 cause of death in student athletes and the #2 cause of death in the US for youths under 25. You probably hear a little more about it in students that are athletic because unfortunately it happens usually on a field or in front of a crowd. There are those that happen in their sleep. In fact, 3 in this community since 2012 have experienced that too. My son in 2012, Andrew Marcos in 2015, and Matthew, and I'm sorry, I can't think of his last name right now, in 2015 as well. SCA often has no warning signs. It can happen without symptoms. In fact, 2 of the major signs is that there is an unexplained fainting or a sibling has died from it. Other vague warning signs are racing heartbeats, especially when body is at rest, unusual fatigue or tiredness, dizziness, or lightheadedness during or after physical activity. As you can see, very vague. Up to 72% of the youths that are affected by SCA victims had at least one warning sign that was just not recognized on its own as serious. Looking back on our family, playing Monday quarterback, knowing what I know now, Liam probably had 2 warning signs. One was in March of 2012, where he fainted in church. All, including his pediatrician, stated it was most likely due to being hot in church, and that him being 6'2" at 16 years of age, going from a kneeling position to standing too quickly, it probably just threw off his equilibrium. Warning sign #1. Having said that, it's the only time he ever fainted. On October 29, 2012, 2 weeks prior, he told me that he wasn't feeling well. So I asked him, doctor appointment not feeling well or just not feeling well? And he said, I think we should go to the doctor. So I said, okay. We didn't get to that appointment. On October 29th, our world changed completely and forever. Our lives now have a devastating hole that will never be healed. However, giving back to the community, providing awareness, protecting others as best we can from this tragedy ever happening to others forever helps our healing. In our beautiful boy's honor and through his memorial fund, we sponsor Beats for Liam, a teen cardiac screening for the Connecticut community. This screening consists of a simple EKG reading where a cardiologist on site reads for abnormalities. If there's any abnormalities seen, we do an echo on site as well. And each cardiologist, there's 2 that volunteer their time, sit with the team to go over those results, including making good life choices. Unfortunately, an EKG is not part of a teen's well-being care or pre-participation in sports physical. And it's such a simple test that can pick up abnormalities. And so we are here to do 2 things. One is to ask you to advocate strongly in making that a requirement for your sports, to have an EKG. I think over and over again, if I would have just had known what I've known now, I'd be living a different life. It's non-invasive, it's quick, it's easy, and a life is owed it. So on May 21st, actually in the 4 years pre-COVID that we have performed this event at the Oakdale Bohemia Junior High School. We've screened over 400 local teens. We're really proud of that because about 18% of them have required further cardiac evaluation and follow-up. And there's nothing that pleases me more than when there's a few families in the community that every year when they take their child, who's now probably in their early 20s, to their annual cardiologist annual checkup, they send me a little note saying, thank you again, because we would have never known this. So that is the way that our family gives back. I'm proud to say on May 21st here at the high school, we'll be hosting another Beats for Liam. We already have over 220 teens registered. So we wanted to thank you for allowing us to host that extremely important event. We're happy to report that in 2021, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended that all youths should get a heart screening. So I will continue to do my part through our memorial fund and continue to host for the community until such time that the schools make it a requirement and or pediatricians throughout the community make it a requirement as far as their annual pre-check for good health. So thank you for being part of our healing journey. Thank you for allowing us to have it on site. It truly does take a village. Thanks for being part of ours. Thank you. Loanna Collins' mom.
And thank you for doing what you do, because you make a difference.
So Luann, I heard you mention about it be a recommendation, particularly for our sports students. I had this conversation with this board about 2 or 3 years ago, that it be a requirement that each athlete have an EKG.
It is something that other school districts have now done. In fact, there are others that perform these type of screenings in a bigger, broader way than I do. My family and I am really just trying to give back to Connecticut, but other screening events make it a requirement for all of their students that play sports to be part of that screening, or they make it a requirement as part of being on a sports team.
So Linda, how do we make that happen?
So I think that's a conversation where we have to make sure that our community has access. Before we make something mandatory, I think it's really important that we do some surveying to make sure that our students all have access and our families have access to that kind of care. Because people without insurance or good insurance may not be able to provide that, and then I would be worried that those children then may be not able to be on a sports team. So maybe we put together some kind of a survey where we see if it's possible for our parents to be able to do something.
May I add or suggest, I guess, for the athletes, I don't know why this is so loud. For the athletes, they do have where they can come to the high school to do the physical if they are not able to get to their own physician or if they don't have one. Is there a way that we can have someone on site to do an EKG for the children?
So that's something I would have to talk to our physician, Dr. Gill, who is our school physician. I'm not sure what equipment he has available and or whether there's someone who can actually read that, but I can certainly do some research and report back to the board either at the next meeting or the early June meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so that there would be 2 opportunities. They can go through their private insurance, or we can offer that opportunity. Because I don't want to hear insurance as a reason why a child could not get an EKG. I think in today's society, that's very sad. I don't even want to hear that, very upsetting. So that shouldn't be the excuse because they don't have insurance. Every child should have one.
I have to say thank you, because 4 years ago, my Lynn took me to OBMS and had my daughter get checked, and it actually turned out that they sent me to another doctor. So I have to really thank you, because I know other people have the same kind of stories as mine. And it was all because I went to that EKG that day with you.
100%. As a parent of athletes, I take mine privately just to check, and I'm glad I did because 2 of my 3 children had a hole in their heart that is monitored. So thank you for advocating.
one, to, I need a motion and a second for changes that will be made to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion so carried. We're going to move on to public hearing. I'm calling for a motion to second to suspend the business meeting and reconvene the public hearing of the annual meeting. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion so carried. Mr. Hauser will present the proposed 2022-23 budget.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Before we start the presentation, I just want to go over a few items for the public so that they are aware. So we are about to do the required annual budget hearing for the following school year, the 2022-23 school year. The presentation that you are about to see will be posted on the district's website probably by tomorrow afternoon. I understand this presentation may be difficult for those of you in the audience to see, so I will do my best to try to explain it. But please know, just like every other presentation we've done in public session, we try to post the presentation within 24 hours on the district website. The other three items I wanted to let you know is that in my hand I'm holding what's called the budget book. It's obviously pink in color. It's 244 pages. This book has many more details about our budget, in particular, our budget line by line, that we've placed all the documents in this book. These books are available at the central office, the public library, and each of the individual school buildings, as well as the district website. So if you have any particular questions or you would like more detailed information, I would guide you to take a look at this particular document. The other two things, we are required to send out a budget notice. It's called the 6-day notice, meaning that 6 days before the actual budget vote. The budget vote is going to be next Tuesday, May 17th. So today we delivered the 6-day notice to the 3 local post offices to be mailed. I'm not sure exactly how long it actually takes the post office to get that notice to each of the residential homes in the neighborhood. So what we did is we have extra copies of the 6-day notice. And once again, those copies are available at the central office, each of the school buildings, and we'll have them at the public library as well. And then the last thing I wanted to say is we also dropped off the budget notebook, which is a newsletter, that goes out every year just before the vote. That budget newsletter was dropped off at the post office as well today. So once again, I'm not sure how long that actually takes to get to each residence, but if you don't want to wait and you'd like to see those documents earlier, feel free to go to either any one of the school buildings, the central office, or the public library. All right, so now we'll begin the final presentation for the 2022-23 school year, and the budget that the board has previously adopted that we will be asking the community to vote on next Tuesday, May 17th. Next slide, please. Okay, as we've done each presentation, we've listed the timeline from start to finish with the budget. And once again, I do acknowledge this may be difficult for you to see out there, so I'll do my best to try to explain it. So up at the top, we started this process on January 3rd, and here we are almost 4 months later, May 10th. And then the final line item at the very bottom will be the actual budget vote on Tuesday. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, And this is about the 8th budget presentation. And all of these presentations are available on the district website as well. Next slide, please. This slide here is a slide that will give people an idea of the total amount of the budget, which is going to be $207,420,876. That is a 1.89% increase from the previous year. And this slide represents all the individual line items as to where the monies or the revenues are going to come from to actually support the budget. So I'd like to take a minute here and just go through these one by one, because I think it's important for everyone to know where the individual line items, what they represent, and how much money is going to be allocated from them. So our first line item is called the appropriated fund balance, and that's typically the fund that's from accumulated surpluses from prior school years. So this year, and it also represents monies that we've collected from the taxpayers that we refund back to the taxpayers when we see the need to do so. So this coming school year, we're going to return $5,638,262, in a sense, back to the taxpayers, which will be used to fund this budget. The second line is called Other Miscellaneous Revenue. That amount is $6,159,523. It represents a number of different items, but I'll give you an example of at least 3 items that are in there. So with our new energy performance contracts that we have and the projects that we are completing throughout the district, there are rebates that we are getting from the utility companies, and those rebates will come to us in the form of revenue for energy conservation and efficiencies. The other item that makes up this line here is we have a program up at our high school, typically referred to as the Academy, where students from other school districts find this to be an appropriate setting rather than their district of location, their own home district. So students who we approve to come here, we have our own students who attend the program as well. We charge those school districts tuition for those students to come here. The districts are responsible for transporting the students here, but we actually receive the revenue from that district to those districts to educate those students. So that's just 2 ideas of monies. The other one is the Prem building on Montauk Highway. That building, as of July 1st, will be 100% rented to BOCES, to Eastern Suffolk BOCES. We will be realizing an increase in rent that we charge to Eastern Suffolk BOCES, so we have factored that in here as well. Third line is called the Workers' Compensation Reserve. So we have a separate reserve account. This school district, like many others, is self-insured for workers' compensation insurance. So if we have an employee who is injured on the job and we have to pay medical claims for that employee, we use this particular reserve. So on the budget side, we have an expense that we're estimating, which is about $1.9 million in claims. We will be going to this reserve for the same amount of money, $1.9 million, to pay for those claims. The next item is the Employee Benefit Reserve. So we have a separate reserve that allows us to have money set aside for employees' sick time, personal time, vacation time. And upon retirement, we go into that reserve and we actually use those funds to pay out the employee upon retirement or upon separation from the school district. This year, we estimate $650,000 will be paid out to employees who are retiring or leaving the district, and accordingly, we will go into the reserve and take $650,000 to pay for those payments. The following line is called the ERS, or the Employee Retirement System Reserve. This is for non-instructional, non-administrator retirement costs. We estimate that we're going to use $2,772,432 out of this reserve to pay for the annual retirement costs for our non-instructional employees. The following reserve, which is relatively new, is called the Teachers Retirement System Reserve. That would be for instructional staff members. This year, we are going to go into that reserve and take $1,501,263 to pay for the annual teachers' retirement system costs. Following line is called unemployment reserve. So once again, like many school districts, we are self-insured for unemployment insurance. So if we have an employee who separates from the district and we are deemed to be liable for unemployment insurance, we have a separate reserve established to pay for those unemployment claims. This year, we estimate the expense to be about $25,000. So we'll go into that reserve accordingly and take those funds out. The following line is called the Debt Service Fund. Last year, we took out $12,000. There are no more funds left in that reserve, so accordingly, we have allocated $0. One of the bigger revenue sources to the school district is state aid. And I don't want to be very careful here on this line because it could be a little bit deceiving the way I have it shown. I'm showing that we're going to be receiving $53,899,396 in state aid. That is less the amount of money that the state is giving us for our universal pre-kindergarten program. The monies that the state gives us for the universal pre-kindergarten program have to go into a separate fund on our books. So we don't show that money coming in from the state aid because it goes to a separate fund, not our general fund. So all total here, just in our other revenues, we have $72,545,876. And that leads me to the following line, which is really our largest source of revenue, which is real estate taxes that we collect from individual residential homes as well as commercial businesses. This year, we estimate we're going to collect $134,875,000, which is a 1.99% increase from the prior year. So it's less than 2%. And I'll show another slide that will show possible scenarios and costs to individual homeowners for that. So all total, all those individual line items represent $207,420,876, which is going to be our total budget. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide just will give a rough idea of how much we expect the budget to cost the average taxpayer in the district, and we're using a $50,000 assessed value. I think it's very important that in order for any individual homeowner to determine how much this is going to actually affect them, it would be important to get your own tax bill, see what your assessed value is on your tax bill, and then we can calculate what your actual cost is going to be. There may be many people who have a home that's assessed at $50,000. Some people may have different exemptions than others, so it's difficult to compare the two homes without having the actual tax bills. So on that particular $50,000 assessed value, if we break the cost down by month, we expect the cost to be $15.92 more per month for the 2022-23 school year budget. At the bottom of this slide, I broke it out a little bit further for a home that might be assessed at $10,000, a home that might be assessed at $30,000, and once again, a home that's assessed at $50,000. But I broke it out on an annual basis. So for anyone who has a home that's assessed at $10,000, that annual increase would be $38. If the house is assessed at $30,000, the increase would be $114. And for that house that's assessed at $50,000, the annual increase would be $191. Next slide, please. Okay, this just gives you an idea line by line in summary form, as well as in a pie chart. You can see the different categories that make up a school digit budget, how much those different categories are as part of the budget, and then the pie chart actually gives you the percentages as well. So that should be some helpful information right there. Next slide, please. So for the upcoming school year, we will be offering new courses at many of the different grade levels. These are just some examples of the courses. For example, American Sign Language, Broadcast Journalism, Computer Hardware and Networking Basics, Emergency Medicine, Interpersonal Psychology, Positive Psychology Applications, and Social and Emotional Wellness through Physical Education, are examples. Next slide, please. And this slide just references some curricular initiatives. I'll go through them one by one as well. So we have our, if you wouldn't mind, Ms. Poppy, FLES, please. LES. And what is that? Thank you. Foreign language in the elementary schools for grades 3, 4, and 5. Reinitiating Sequest in grades 4 and 5. Grades 7 and 8, Computer Science, a push-in instructional model. Computer coursework and certification exams. Computer Science, Instructional Technology, Career and College Exploration. Increase college credit-bearing course offerings. Cooperative Career and Technical Education Work Experience Programs. Career Development Courses, also known as CDAS. Lifeguarding Year 2. And a unified bowling and cheer, as well as intramural athletics for all. Just a few more examples of curricular initiatives. Next slide, please. I put this slide in here just to give an idea, and I don't even like to talk about it because it's called the contingency budget. So on May 17th, because the Connecticut School District, the Board of Education has adopted a budget that does not exceed the New York State tax cap, we simply need a majority of those homeowners who come to vote to approve the budget. So that would be 50% who would approve the budget. If that doesn't happen, if we don't get a majority of the voters to approve the budget, we actually have two options, I'll say. One is the board can decide to put the budget out again for the community to vote. If for some reason the budget doesn't pass on the second round, we would go to a contingency budget. In simplest terms that I can say, a contingency budget does not allow us to raise one more dollar from the community. So if we are anticipating our costs to operate the district to go up just shy of 2%, without having the ability to raise another dollar from the community, we would have to either look at other revenue sources, or we would be in a position to actually make significant cuts. I mentioned two scenarios with the contingency budget. I believe a Board of Education could adopt a plan where the budget would just be put out one time, and if it didn't pass, it would just go to contingency. So in this particular case here, at the very bottom of the screen, I just gave an idea that under a contingency scenario, we would have to cut approximately $2.6 million from the adopted budget here. Okay, but once again, the contingency budget in its simplest form means we are not allowed to collect another dollar from the community from the current school year. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so on May 17th, there will be 3 propositions on the ballot when the community comes out to vote. Proposition number 1 will be for the actual school budget, which is the $207 million figure I referenced earlier in the presentation. The second project will be the new capital project, which is in the amount of $59,869,837. Hopefully, most of the community has had the ability to participate in one of the presentations given at the individual school buildings, as well as some of the local associations and civic groups. And the third proposition is for the establishment of a new capital reserve in the amount of $20 million that would allow us, if we have any future surpluses, to place monies in that capital reserve for major repairs, improvements throughout the district. One of the requirements for a capital reserve is for the community to actually approve the reserve, and then a subsequent requirement is if monies are put into that reserve, we have to also ask the community for approval to spend the monies. So those are the 3 propositions that will be asked of the voters to vote on. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is the final slide, which is just a recap. So once again, the adopted budget is under the New York State tax cap. The spending is 1.89%, and the levy is 1.99%. Both numbers under 2%. And just as another reminder that the budget vote, as well as the school board election, will be next Tuesday, May 17th. Does anyone on the board have questions?
I do, Bob. So the 2.6 in contingency, what are examples of that equates to the 2.6? What would be included, I should say?
So are you asking what particular items would we have to consider cutting if we had to go to a contingency budget? Correct. Okay. So a contingency budget would really be programs, services that are not deemed necessary. So athletics typically comes to the top of the pile as one of those that we would be asked to evaluate in terms of cost. Also, salaries of different areas, whether it be administrative, whether it be program, whether it be capital, would have to be evaluated as well to see which personnel are necessary. So those are 2 big examples that would make up that $2.6 million savings.
So while you weren't here at the time, there was a big discussion about contingency and that it should never hurt any child. So the first thing that you mentioned was athletics. That hurts children. There has to be ways of making cuts that doesn't directly impact children. So I would never be in favor of something like that, just putting it on record.
Yep, understood.
Okay, at this time, if there is anyone in the audience who wish to raise a question or to make a brief statement related to the public hearing only, your time is allotted for 3 minutes. So if anyone has any questions about the budget, you're more than welcome to come up.
Good evening. My name is Rosaria Shikilani. I just want to reference, it's interesting to hear how you're going, if I heard correctly, you're going to reimburse the taxpayers $5 million. How is that going to happen?
So that's a very good question you're asking, and the mechanism, I think it's important for people to understand how it's actually done. So if I go back to when we actually collected the buddies from the taxpayers, and that could be over a course of a couple of years that we collected monies from residential as well as commercial taxpayers, we didn't utilize all those monies to actually operate the school district. So we have a surplus at the end of each year, and that surplus accumulates and it goes into that appropriated or unappropriated fund balance. When we are looking for sources of revenue to operate the next year's budget, we look at those surplus funds, and instead of going back out to the community again and saying to you, we would like you to pay, let's say, $5 million to help us operate the budget, we just go into that bucket of funds right there, and we take them and we apply them to the budget. So it's not a case of where we're actually giving, let's say, a refund check or giving the monies back to the taxpayers and then saying to you, okay, here's your money, but we need it back. We go through this, I'll say a simpler process where we've already collected it, and now we're going to just utilize it to operate the budget.
So that means the taxes won't go up then? If you're
I
going
want to be careful how I answer that question, because the presentation here and the budget that we've presented to the community, it shows that taxes overall will increase 1.99%, and that's with us using those previously collected tax dollars. Does that help a little?
trying to understand it.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
On the curriculum initiatives, and you're going to teach grades 3, 4, and 5 languages. What kind of languages will you be implementing or teaching?
I'll take the question if you don't
Okay.
mind. So we have an existing program which is called FLES, Foreign Language in the Elementary Schools. The students are exposed to Spanish instruction in an environment where they are choosing to participate as they have lunch. So we have set up the program to take place for interested students in grades 3 and 4. We experienced a pause this year because of COVID and our safety and distancing protocols. But next year we are looking to reignite this program and follow its natural progression into 5th grade. So it is a brief and immersive experience for students. It's really fun-based, it's enjoyment-based, and it's a taste of a different language as they are having their elementary experience, which is a wonderful opportunity that we're able to extend to them.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Is there anyone else that has any questions about the budget or the bond? Okay, so now we're gonna move on. At this point, we're going to introduce the board candidates that are running for election. They'll be able to introduce themselves, and briefly provide their background, et cetera. So Jackie, since your family is here, why don't you start first?
Thank you, Lee. For those who don't know who I am Jacqueline Napolitano Ferno. I am a 1996 graduate of Connecticut. I went to Cherokee RMS, that used to be called Ronkonkoma High School, and then I came through the high school. I have lived on Cherokee Street my whole life. I built a house next door to my parents after I got married. I went to Suffolk Community College for criminal justice. After getting my degree there from my associates, I went on to NYIT for my bachelor's degree in behavioral science. And in my last semester, I was called in my graduating semester, for my bachelor. I ended up leaving college in March to go into the New York City Police Department. I made a good choice for what worked for me, and it is served me well for 22 years. I have been a police officer in NYPD for 8 years, and I am now in a Nassau County Village for 14 plus years. I serve as my PBA vice president. I've served as a delegate to many different unions on my job and clubs. I'm just looking to see what else they want me to say. Employment, family. I have 2 children, one who's in the audience tonight, normally not here, but my son, who's in 6th grade, decided to be here. Hello, Jacob. And my daughter, who is at home, I'm sure listening, is a 9th grader. Very proud of them. I have a niece who's a senior. I'm excited for her graduation from Connecticut. I have nieces and nephews who've gone through the school. Me and my sisters went through the school. I'm very proud of Connecticut, and I'm just happy that I've gotten to serve the last 3 years. And that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Jackie. Sarah Smith, would you like to come up and join us? A little conversation? You can talk to the audience. You can pull that mic up if you would like.
Sure, whatever works. All right, it's gonna stay right here. That's okay with everybody. So I wanted to thank the board for allowing us to introduce ourselves, and the Connecticut community for listening, getting to know us. So a little about me. My name is Sarah Smith. I have my master's degree in social work, my bachelor's in social work, my associates in human services from Suffolk County Community College, my bachelor's and master's from Stony Brook. I work full-time with veterans experiencing homelessness and homeless women and children in Suffolk County. I feel truly honored and blessed to do what I do and work with the individuals I work with. I have an amazing sister who's about to go into high school, which is mind-blowing to me. She's also taller than me. And so a little bit about me. I am endorsed by the National Association of Social Workers, the Connecticut Teachers Association, Long Island Strong Schools Alliance, Run for Something, and I'm really proud that these groups have invested their trust in me. I'm really looking forward to bringing a focus of, taking a proactive stance in regards to mental health and overall wellness of our children during these times. I really feel strongly that we shouldn't be waiting for something to happen, to be taking proactive measures to make sure our students are being as supported as possible. I'm excited to be a representative of Unity. I really want to bring the focus back to the kids and what's important with the kids, and not focus on politics or anything of that nature, it should be, decisions should be continued to be made on what will benefit the kids, and that's what I hope to bring. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong resident of Ronkonkoma, and I really appreciate my time here, and thank you again for letting us do this.
Thank you very much. You have something you want to add, Jackie?
Well, only because you just allowed campaigning after you told me
I
I'm
can't
only.
hear a thing for that
You
microphone.
told me that I'm only allowed, let me read. It says, no campaigning is allowed, Jackie. How long living in district, family, education,
write that.
and employment.
I didn't write that.
That's what it says. Well, does it say that? Because that's what it says.
Right.
So I will add, just so that we have it similar,
Okay,
is that I am endorsed by the Suffolk County Police Department. I'm endorsed by the Oyster Bay Cove Police Department. I am endorsed by Suffolk County Police Detectives Association. I'm endorsed by NYPD Detective Endowments Association. I'm endorsed by Moms for Liberty. I'm endorsed for Freedom of Children, I believe it's FOC. I am endorsed by, I'm trying to think which others we have here. It's a whole list here. So, what is it? No, I said the PBA. I said the PBA. The CSEA of Connecticut. I have many different endorsements as well. I wasn't sure we were allowed to actually say that.
okay, are you even now?
No, Lee, it's not about being even. It's about you doing what you're supposed to do after you told me that you're
couldn't
allowed.
hear a
You had a
word she said.
superintendent and you had Mylin telling you that this isn't allowed, and you were allowing it. So I'm just trying to do what's fair. I didn't want to do that. That's why maybe I should have went.
Continue.
No, I'm good, that's it.
Oh,
I just
go
wanted
ahead.
to. Sarah, it's not your fault. The board president's supposed to run the meeting. She's supposed to tell us what we're allowed and not allowed to do. She wrote it, they have it blacked for me so that I knew.
Okay. All right. May I have a call for a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing of the annual meeting and to resume the business meeting? I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Motion so carried. I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the April 5th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. Second?
No, not yet.
We're not
Second.
there yet.
Secondly.
All in favor? Motion so carried. Call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the April 12th, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Motion so carried. Now we're going to go on to discussion items. Library literacy, that would be Mylin and Jackie. Oh,
It's me and Marisol.
Sorry, Marisol, go ahead.
So the high school held their library literacy celebration the other day. Miss Locks did a fantastic job putting it together. She had a live puppet show here for the children. The literacy works were on display in the cafeteria. There were tables set up for arts and crafts for the children to walk through and do some crafts and enjoy. Dr. Adams and Mr. Allen were here presenting the capital budget. It was a very nice, informative night. I thoroughly enjoyed watching everybody look at their children's literacy work and just enjoy the crafts that they were doing and the puppet show. Good job.
Yeah, it was,
Add to that?
just to piggyback her, it was an excellent job, everybody who put it together. It was wonderful. I liked having Dr. Adams there as well with John Allen. Thank you both for being there to try to give the community transparency on the budget. That was very nice. It was really nice to see all the kids' beautiful artwork and their wonderful writing. And going into the lunchroom and then through the hallways, it was nice to see all the activities the kids got to do as well. I was happy we got to do that.
Marisol and Jackie, if you don't mind if I chime in briefly. So the literacy celebration reached its 10th annual event this year. And Mrs. Laux did a terrific, fantastic job of coordinating it, but it is also the work of all of our district library media specialists. So they come together as a group to put the evening on for the entire community. And they were the individuals who were dreaming up those tables and theming the night and making the choices for the events for the public to enjoy. So I just wanted to be sure to acknowledge all of them as well.
Absolutely, and my apologies for not including them. They did a fantastic job.
They really did. It was wonderful to see the kids really were engaged and loved it.
Okay, we're going to go on to Thunder Run. Marisol?
So the Connecticut PTA Council, together with the 7 schools in our district, so the Connecticut High School, OBMS, RMS, Sycamore, John Pearl, Duffield, and Slocum, have all come together to create what is called the Thunder Run. It will be held June 12th at 9:30 at the Ronkonkoma Middle School, rain or shine. And it's for all levels of activity. You can come and do the 5K run that they're presenting, or you can do a fun run for the children. You can walk it. It's going to be a fun event. They are accepting pre-registration until May 15th. You get a shirt with your pre-registration. You can also sign up the day of if you're not sure if you're available, and then all of a sudden your schedule clears up and you can go. So I hope everybody can make it. It would be, and there's going to be raffles and vendors and food trucks, and it's supposed to be a very nice community event to bring everybody together. June 12th.
I was looking for the curriculum for that, so since I'm going to put that off, and what I am going to do is ask the superintendent 3 questions that she already knows I have coming, that you guys, I guess, pulled off, but it needs to be asked tonight because I feel there are people in the audience who may have questions on this. So what's been happening in our community, unfortunately, is there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of misinformation circulating. So I just want to set the record straight and have Dr. Adams give transparency to the entire community. So the first one is, and I think you might have already done this, are there any banned books at Connecticut? And have we had any banned books in the last several years?
No, we have not.
No banned books, correct?
No, that is correct. No banned books.
Thank you. That's number 1. Number 2, are there any talks of charter schools in Connecticut? I was under the impression that there are no charter schools in this jurisdiction. Am I correct?
You are correct. And a charter school would have to be approved by the New York State Education Department. And as far as I am aware, there are no applications up at the state to have any kind of charter school within the Connecticut boundaries.
Wonderful, thank you. I was trying to explain that to some community members who are getting misinformation mailed in their mailboxes. Number 3, and this is the big one. So I was told that supposedly I'm about opening the back entrance. I need you to answer, have we as a board, or myself speaking to you, spoken about opening a back entrance of the high school at any time?
No.
Is there any talks of opening a back entrance, other than for an emergency, police, fire, something like that? Graduation.
No. In fact, in my 8 years here, it came up a couple times. We did at one point have the architect of record of the school district walk the grounds and basically determined there's absolutely no way to make safe roads through the back of the facility in order to ever open up Hill Road.
No, I think the only thing that you were looking to do was get access for people to go see baseball.
Lee, I think what I said, and I think anybody could go back and listen, what I said, and Linda will tell you, well, what I said, and I know John Allen and me have spoken about it, it was I had felt bad as a human that there was people who cannot go see baseball because it's so far off the roadway and they are handicapped or they are elderly. Not to say my parents are in the audience and I call them elderly and they don't mind it. I know you get upset with it, but they don't mind it. So what I'm explaining to you is I am worried about if there are people who can't physically walk, whether they're young or older. My thing, so all I was looking for was special parking for people that was closer, since we have a lot of what I called dead space, and John Allen had said at a meeting that the space was looked at many times, but you can't really make it safe for us as anything because there are kids walking back and forth, which I understand. I was simply looking for a conversation to help people who are handicapped, disabled, or have issues walking that far. And I liked Brian's idea of using vans. I thought that shuttle vans was the best idea. At no point did we discuss opening an entrance, and for me to get plenty of emails in the last 2 days over people getting false information in their mailboxes with my name on it, and then having Dr. Adams clear the air, I think is appropriate, don't you?
I don't follow what goes on here.
I only followed it because it has my name crystal clear on it, and I love how everybody's talking for me. So I'm talking for myself now. I've never said that I wanted charter schools, never in 3 years with Dr. Adams, never ever have I spoken about banning books. There have been challenge books, and Dr. Adams, it's in her wheelhouse, not mine. And the third and biggest was, there's no way we could do charter schools, we don't ban books, and we don't open the back entrance. So all of these conversations and all of this rumors and really pretty much lies should be discussed so that our superintendent can give transparency. The community deserves transparency. Thank you.
Now, my topic is CRT. Last night, we were at Oakdale Civic Association. And so I really need to know, Christina, can you please explain, do we have CRT in this district? I need a full explanation.
Oh, well, then we're going back to SEL because SEL is
I
CRT.
wasn't speaking, Jackie, please.
I've prepared a statement in response to this question. The Connecticut Central School District neither supports nor implements critical race theory within its PK through 12 curricula. Neither the district nor its curricula support teaching from the perspective that the United States legal, judicial, and/or its economic systems are designed systemically to create or maintain inequalities. Teaching that there is an inherent bias in the systems that govern our democracy. Teaching that other forms of government are morally superior to democracy. Teaching that personal identifiers such as race, gender, ethnicity, religion, sexuality are dominant or subordinate. Attributing negative ideations to personal identifiers. The Connecticut Central School District utilizes the New York State Framework for Social Studies Education, which supports the development of students' critical thinking and reasoning skills through an age-appropriate, neutral, historically accurate presentation of information. Any parent who has specific curricular concerns can pursue communication at the building and/or district level. In addition, this evening, the Instructional Material Review Committee will be approved in accordance with Regulation 1420-R. This committee allows for a review of formal challenges regarding instructional materials.
Thank you. Now, last night, you made a statement, and you were in my neighborhood, my neighbors. And you, wait, well,
Lee, is
I'm
this
speaking.
campaigning?
No, it's
Is
not
this campaigning? Yeah, because last
No,
night
it's
I
not.
was at a Meet the Candidate that this community was not allowed to be at, which made no sense to me because it's unfair to
Wait
me
a second.
and Sarah. It
Jackie,
was
you do not
unfair.
own the stage.
Lee, it was
Please, I'm
unfair to
speaking.
both of us.
Do you understand I'm speaking?
I don't
Do
know
you
how you're gonna talk
understand
about
I'm
something
speaking
that
first
nobody
and you
was
can
there.
speak second? Do you understand that? I had a group of
Yes,
people
ma'am.
approach me afterwards, and one woman said, "My son's not moving here because he has kids." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You do CRT." I said, "No, we don't." But I wasn't about to go into detail because maybe you knew something. So I'm just telling you that's my community, my family in that school, in that building, and I would like you to call up Carol Schwaznick tomorrow and tell her in no way are we doing CRT in this district.
Okay, you ready, Lee? Now I'm going to speak about what what DEI and SEL is. And maybe I'll even share the slides that the police department even has come up with, because this is something that we deal with at work. So I know that you know that SEL and DEI do have anti-police components. They do. Whether we utilize them
Wait a
or
second,
not.
wait a second.
No, Lee, I'm
I'm gonna
speaking
ask,
now,
no,
ma'am.
no, no, I need to know from our staff what we do here, not what the
Lee,
police
I'm
do.
speaking, and she's going to answer me after I read what I have here. So this is right off of the website. Here we go. SEL is how New York State Education Department describes the process through which our children use the knowledge they learn to make decisions, process their emotions, and develop relationships. SEL2 is another acronym being used to advance the social justice fight by emphasizing educational equity. For example, New York State Education Department directs visitors to the SEL section of its website to an article titled, Speaking Up Against Racism Around the New Coronavirus, found at the Learning for Justice website. This is easily, everybody can utilize and look this up. This article on anti-Asian racism associated with the coronavirus brings you to a series of Let's Talk webinars about white privilege, police violence, economic inequality, mass incarnation. SEL is also being used to bring corporations like Northwell Health into our schools to subject our children to mental health counseling for the stress and insecurities that we all know are so common and normal at some of these ages. Is what I'm reading wrong? Don't, you wanted it, you wanted to bring it up, I was letting it go. Now we can have it. DEI equals SEL equals CRT. They all got the same components in them. That's why I don't support them. I do support diversity, I do support equity, I do support inclusion, but I'm not the curriculum. These curriculums are divisive. You may support them, but I certainly do not.
Go ahead, Linda, please. We do not do CRT in this district. We do not. We follow the state rules. We do not do any of this stuff in the district.
So one of the things that we,
No
okay, so
talking.
one
No,
of the
Lee,
things
you can't
that,
yell at one and not at all.
You have your 3
Everybody has
minutes.
to not talk, or we're gonna close the meeting, right, Lee? That's your motto?
You have your 3 minutes. When this is over, our discussion is over.
No, you wanted CRT now, here we go.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Christina, because New York State Education Department, right on the website, showed me racism, police violence. Am I not seeing it correctly? Because I'll show you it if you need.
Christine, do we do this in Connecticut? Do we do any of this in?
It's not
Christina?
about white, Lee. Are you in my kids' classrooms? Are you in every kid's classroom?
I'm talking to Christina. Mrs. Poppy, can you please explain what we do here in Connecticut?
Boy, I hope you get this right. Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno, I know that
I'm talking about Connecticut.
I know that your references to the narrative that you're discussing are out there in public. I know that there are references that you are discussing and referring to that appear on certain aspects of the NYSED website. We can't refute that. But what we do have here
Thank you.
is local control over what SEL looks like in our district.
Let me ask you something.
Wait, let her finish talking.
And I know that this topic, unfortunately, bears the pressure of exterior forces and an exterior narrative that closes in on a school district in a way that is very challenging. Because you're right, we can't be in every classroom at every moment of every school day. What we can assure is that the district does not support CRT. What we can assure is that the district, as a representative of the New York State Education Department, is set to adhere to curricular guidelines. But the beauty of this aspect that I just mentioned is that we do have local control. I know that you had requested some clarification about our SEL curriculum and some of the ties that it may have to the narrative that you just shared. And we are more than happy to provide you an opportunity to speak with Mrs. Pisani. Actually, the entire board is interested in learning more. I think I received a 5 out of 5 response. And for that reason, we're going to have to structure a meeting in a way that we don't have a board meeting, essentially. But we can do that, and then we can go ahead and have a more granular presentation that is ConnectQuad at a later date, whether it be in July or, whether it be at a sooner date or a later date at the board's, preference.
So you do see, though, that there are CRT components in SEL and DEI. Whether we have them here, if we bring in that curriculum, those components are still there. I just want to, so Lee understands. The components are still there. And I don't think she understands that. And that's what I said last night. And I will say it again. I said I do not support these curriculums personally because they do have these divisive and anti-American, anti-police curriculum. And I will not support them. Okay, I will not. That is, I was raised on traditional curriculum, many others, and we're all pretty successful in our own rights. And ConnectQuad, we are a product of ConnectQuad. I graduated from this school, I learned from this school, excellent teachers. I would never say that we do not have excellent educators here. What I'm saying is when you bring in a curriculum, some may not even realize that the curriculum that's being taught has pieces of this in front of them. Because many told me before they were even on the board or running for the board, they didn't even know what critical race theory was. So it's not intentional, but we need to be aware of what's there. We need to be aware. Ms. Kennedy doesn't realize that there are components of CRT in DEI and SEL. And I just want her to understand that the components that people are concerned about are in those two as well.
But they're not in ConnectQuad. That's all
Lee,
I'm saying.
Lee.
They're not in ConnectQuad.
Lee, nobody said that. What I said, and I'll say it again, is the restorative justice program has also components of CRT because of the social justice issues. We can all sit here all day. I did the research, Lee. I did the research. Maybe you should do the research. I'll share my slides with you.
If I may, I think the most important idea here is that, these pieces are not taking place in our schools. And while there is an exterior narrative that I cannot deny is out there, we all receive it. If you turn on the news, that's what you see and that's what you hear. And those are experiences for other school districts. So when we're talking about ConnectQuad and we're talking about what we have here to offer to children, the CRT does not have a place. We are onboarding an SEL curriculum that has had some ties to a different movement. However, the individual who I think generated that controversy within that curriculum has left the organization. And that's something that can be hopefully clarified for the board and eventually for the community, because the organization believes in the opportunity for every student, regardless of their upbringing and regardless of their experience, to have those SEL components available to them.
If I may ask a question, what does this cost the district when they try to do these pilots? We know Common Core cost us millions of dollars. So some can see this as who's making money off of this, follow the money trail. With this particular issue, is there money attached to this? Do we have to pay for something? I think that should also be transparent as well.
There are monies involved. There are monies involved whenever we look to develop curricula for Connecticut, whether they are from an outside organization or we receive professional development from outside resources, or whether we develop curricula locally, right? When we tailor curricula to our students' needs, there are always costs attached. So yes, there is a money aspect involved here.
I'm just putting this on the record so that we are very clear. When you do bring this forward, I would like to know, I want transparency, because I will be voting it down, even if I'm voting alone. There is no way that if a curriculum is that good, we have exceptional educators, including yourself, that I feel could make a curriculum that mirrors something that's out there without it costing us money, without us having to use something that has these components in it. Why should we give money to a curriculum that's anti-American? Why would we give money to a curriculum that's anti-police? We have a lot of families in law enforcement in this district. Why in the world would we give money to these if we're not mandated to? If we are not mandated to, why can't we?
Christine, can you respond to that, please?
So I should be clear that the curriculum that I believe that we're referring to has taken the stance that they are none of those things. I think I mentioned a moment ago that the individual who was part of the organization who caused the controversy has left the organization. I know that that's a strange way to provide a guarantee, but I can assure you that did in fact occur.
The label is still there.
Right.
And the curriculum is still the curriculum, correct? So a person leaves, it's kind of like saying if a board member leaves, if one of the educators, if one of the cabinet members leave, it's still, Connecticut still moves forward the same. So the curriculum is still the curriculum. At least what I was looking at in slides online, it's very transparent, anyone can do it. It shows you that they are really bringing in a lot of social justice issues, which have no place in our schools. They really don't, it's political.
I think we should move on.
Well, Lee, you wanted to bring this up, Lee.
Christina's saying
You
it.
wanted to bring this up.
But Christina is saying it, and you're just agreeing with her at this point.
No, I'm actually not.
Christina, I'd like to maybe present a scenario. So back a few years ago, Leader in Me was piloted in a couple of elementary schools. And it was kind of like, manners matter, and how to be kind to your peers, and very much similar to this, be respectful, be kind, And I remember at a PTA meeting for OBMS, and Miss Bailey said, I don't pay for these particular things. I grab what I like, and I create my own. What is, meant for my students, my staff, my building. So, Piombo, I think you can even probably mention a few things that is that Piombo? I don't have my glasses.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Exactly. And
I love it.
And Bailey, was great about, again, bringing together students, anti-bullying, and all these things. And we were joking around and said, what did it cost? And she said $0. So we don't need to buy into a program to target the areas that I think we all can agree upon that is very important. Respect, no bullying, be kind. You don't need to spend money to deliver that message.
I know,
I agree.
OBM also had it in their anti-bullying with Teresa Rowden. There was no program brought in. There was not, it was, Joe, once again, I'm gonna put you out there. It was all in, wasn't that the saying? And that whole building was all in. And that cost nothing. It cost her imagination, her reaching out to all the kids. And it was not a program that someone had to go out and pay for. So it happens all the time.
So let me actually, if you and Mylin just brought up great points, why would we buy into SEL or DEI, why wouldn't we just make a Connecticut program so that we are assured that these issues do not come up again?
I believe Christina Poppy just said that. She's
No,
not,
she said that they would
It costs
take
money.
SEL, and it costs money.
We're saying $0.
for everything? We have professional development, that's not free.
You need, okay.
We have
Right, not
excellent
everything.
educators here that I believe I have faith in could make a good program working with social workers rather than bringing something from the outside in. Yes.
I've been saying that for a year.
Well, that'll save the taxpayer money.
I've been
Don't you think
saving
that's a
that-
better
Guys,
idea?
I
I've
think
been
Ms.
saying that
Poppy
for a
answered the
year.
question, and she said she's going to do some research and put some information together for the board. And
Okay.
we have local control.
Right,
So that's what, I mean, we're beating a dead horse here.
I
She's going to
correct.
do the research and figure out ways to do what's right.
that's what I believe we're doing, and I thank you, Christina, for responding. Anyway, I missed you, Marisol, for mental health stresses.
Thank you, Lee. So, with May being Mental Health Awareness Month and our children struggling with mental health and having a lot of stress in their lives, and lately we've been seeing on the news the children thinking and doing things that no kid should ever think and or do. So I presented to Dr. Adams, another school district together with the Family Service League is doing a presentation on age-related stressors and age-appropriate ways to address them. So I was wondering if there would be a way to perhaps bring it to Connecticut and present it to our community and our families.
So Mrs. Yoni Kohler, our Director of Guidance, and Mrs. Pisani, our Interim Director of PPS, are working with their departments this month in this month's meeting to put together something, either for parents and or for our kids, potentially later this month. So they're working at their department meetings to do that this month.
Perfect, thank you. It's really important to get to the parents and the children.
Okay, can you please read a motion to review an employee file?
So Mrs. Kennedy has asked for a resolution to be drafted, and it reads like this: be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes a board member to review in executive session the employment file of the employee named in confidential Exhibit A and directs the superintendent to make such file available.
Can I
I
ask
need a
what's,
motion?
Are you,
Wait,
wait,
wait.
are you adding this to the consent agenda, or what are you doing with this?
No, it's on a discussion item.
okay, and I have a question. Why would we be looking at personnel files if there's no reason for it? Like, I just have to figure this out. So when I wanted to look at personnel files for hiring, I was given the runaround, and then I couldn't vote because I refused to vote without transparency.
I thought you were saying.
But what I want to know is, I'm not for looking at these for files. I don't want any files. So Dr. Adams must have not understood, but she understood, or Reza, but I did not ask specifically what you just did. So if you want this, I'm a big no. I don't believe personnel files should be looked at random. I don't think I should be able to walk in, or you, Lee, or anybody else, and say, hey, today I want to look at this person's file. I want to look at that person's file. Because where does it stop? There's got to be, personnel has a right to privacy as well as transparency. Transparency if there's a
Especially when they're
reason to see
friends.
it. Transparency if there's a reason for it. This isn't in our wheelhouse, Lee. It's in Linda's.
So Jackie, let's just let her read the resolution and let's vote on it.
Okay. Can you read the resolution, please?
I got a question. Don't they have to vote to put a resolution? Anybody can bring a resolution.
So resolution is a opportunity for a board member to bring a resolution is open.
So Mrs. Kennedy is motioning, be it resolved, the Board of Education authorizes a board member to review in executive session the employment file of the employee named in confidential Exhibit A and directs the superintendent to make such file available. So the motion would need a second.
I'll second.
Well, you motioned.
Okay, I'll motion. You second. Who wants to second? Marisol, would you second, please?
Sure, I'll second.
All in favor?
No,
No.
I'm a no.
I'm a no too.
Okay, thank you.
that's abuse.
That's not abuse.
I don't think we should be looking at files unless
Friendship.
there
We
is
vote, let's move on to the next topic.
something.
You get
There's
files.
gotta be a reason. That's why we have admin in place to do that.
Love the answer. Perfect. Just okay, now we're going to go to public comment on agenda items only. Does anyone have any question on agenda items only? If you do, I'll have to read this whole page. You do? No, just on the agenda. Consent agenda, that's coming up.
And the resolution,
What resolution?
the one you just floated, it's 2 seconds ago?
It's not on the consent agenda.
Somebody wants to speak about it, they can.
Yeah, you put it out on the table already.
There's an open public comment after all the business is done.
Right. Nothing for the consent agenda? Okay, let's move on to personnel. I call for a motion in a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented. I'd like to have a separate vote for Schedule 10.
For instructional schedule item number 10,
Correct.
you want to vote on that separate item first?
Either or, whatever's, okay, we can do that first.
Wait, we're pulling an item?
Yes, for a separate vote.
I'm gonna come tell you.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I know I'm voting on that one.
Motion,
Motion.
second,
Excluding 10?
This is on item number 10.
item
Item 10. Oh, so we're voting on item 10 right now?
first.
Oh, mine is a yes.
Well, I need a second.
Mine
first.
is a second and a big yes.
Yes.
Marisol?
I am also a yes.
And
Yes.
Brian, and I am a no, because through transparency, which we like to discuss around here, the process was flawed, not by administration, not by the staff, not by any of those people, but the whole thing was flawed. So I have to vote no.
And I'd like to reboot that. I don't know how something is flawed, Ms. Kennedy, when it's very simple. And Dr. Adams, please tell me if I'm wrong here. So the process of hiring, promotions, and everything else, it goes to the superintendent after committees. The superintendent has to recommend. The Board of Ed can't recommend. So it goes to the cabinet and the super to recommend. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Okay, so I just trying to understand something. So it can't be flawed because the only way that it works is we say yes or no. If we
Correct.
say no to something, then the super has to make a decision or the cabinet together, and their decision is made collectively, and they decide whether they're gonna put out for something again or do whatever they're gonna do.
Correct.
That isn't on us, Lee. That is not on us.
I know.
That is not on the
I
school
know,
board.
but
I know you like to put
I
it
know
on
what
us,
the
but it's
process
not.
would have happened, and there might not have been the
Well, I'll
right
tell
person
you
in
what.
the right building for months.
I'm gonna tell you
So,
what, I'm so excited for our wonderful
Okay,
people
that's
in
enough.
our district. I'm excited for people.
It's only
Okay.
flawed when you don't agree with it.
True, that's right.
Also, board majority just voted to keep number 10. And let's
Correct,
move
so
on.
let's just move on.
Yes, let's move on. Number 10 is a yes. Big yes.
And a motion and a second for the remaining items, please?
Ms. Kennedy, I'm sorry, can I just interrupt? Item number 10,
At the end.
I'll wait.
Thank you.
All right.
Just for purposes, we're gonna do it as if, what's all. Go ahead.
A motion and a second for the rest of personnel. I don't see the number.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried.
Now let Reza speak for a moment, please.
Okay, thank you. It's my only ever opportunity to speak in public. I wanted to get it done. Those motions that were pulled and voted on separately, and even some of them in the consent agenda, are for our new principals of the John Pearl Elementary School, Mr. Brian Rankle. Congratulations. And Mr. Joe Piombo was approved just now for our new principal of the Oakdale Bohemia Middle School. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations to both of you.
So you both have your prepared speeches, right? So you can get up to the mic and speak now? Now, all right, we'll give you a break. Congratulations.
I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 8, financial matters. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Consent agenda. I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 39. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion, are you talking about from 2 to whatever? 39. Yeah, I only have one question. I'll make it light on you guys tonight. So one of them is the Suffolk. One of the questions that I have, and probably the only question tonight on this consent agenda, is the Suffolk County Scholarship. I want to thank the Suffolk County Transportation for giving our students the opportunity to apply for this scholarship. I think it's generous, and we're very grateful for that. So I noticed in the language, it's sort of up to the interpretation of the, I guess, administration, who would be the recipient of this scholarship. So Linda, what would be the criteria for our students to apply for this particular scholarship? And how do you come to that criteria?
So actually, I would have to find that out from the high school because we've been getting this donation for a really long time. And I think those parameters were established a long time ago. So I could get that information if you'd like.
Okay, great, thank you.
Are there any other questions on consent agenda items? Are there any other questions?
No,
Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, so now we're going to go do public comment. I'll now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party and posted to our district board docs page, which can be accessed through the district's website. If you have a specific question and would like an email follow-up, please complete the card on the podium with your name and contact information. Once again, please provide to the district clerk. Number 1. Good evening. Can you turn your mic up?
It should be on. It should be on. Oh,
No.
it is not on. We have a tech coming down to help us too. We have a second mic coming for you. If you could just give us one moment. Hold on, Mr. Taylor, if you could just hold on 1 second, let us replace the batteries in the mic, and then everyone can hear you. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, that sounds better. Thank you. I want to speak in reference to the mother that spoke about the loss of her son. One EKG tells you next to nothing. If you have a continuous series of EKGs, you have a baseline and it gives you a little information. The only kind of EKG that gives you any useful data is called a stress test, where you run and you are hooked up to an EKG machine. When you are under stress, your pulse or heart rate goes up, your metabolism goes up, you may perspire, and it really, really puts a stress on the heart while the EKG is taking its data. This is very seldom done unless you go to a cardiologist, and they will usually do it at 1 to 2 years. The heart is a very, very complicated electromechanical piece of hardware. The other test that's also done, all of these are non-invasive, but they're costly. The other test is an echocardiogram, which tells you what the valves are doing. There are 5 valves in the heart, and usually the mitral valve, which goes from the right side to the left side of the heart, causes the most trouble, and that usually is present even at a young age. And this is another test that should be good. Don't take my advice. I'm only speaking to you as a heart patient. Speak to your primary care physician or to your, preferably your cardiologist. If you're over 35, believe me, you should be seeing a cardiologist, because there's also the cholesterol problems. The diet that most of us eat, believe me, gives us a lot of bad cholesterol. There's medication for it. It's very, very important that the cholesterol level be down, because especially with the aortic artery, which feeds the brain. And there are symptoms that show up, you know, if you're having heart problems, if you're, you know, having trouble breathing, you can't run around the block like you used to. Well, there may be other problems. I'm not speaking as a physician. I'm speaking as a heart patient. One EKG means absolutely nothing unless there's a series of them and you have a baseline. But the best EKG is called the stress test, where you are running on the treadmill. So subjecting students to one EKG is next to nothing. Believe me, next to nothing. Speak to your primary care physician. Speak to your cardiologist, you have one. And if you're over 35, believe me, you should be seeing a cardiologist.
So while Ed, you made very great points. The last screening that was done by Beats William, about 120 students did get the EKG. 18% of them were recommended to go see a cardiologist. So while you're saying that the EKG might be irrelevant, for my daughter, it did find that she had some problems with her electric, and that's what prompted us to go every year to a cardiologist. So to sit there and say necessarily it's not a great idea, again, 18% of those students after that EKG were recommended to go follow up with a cardiologist.
Number two? Number two? Number three?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here because I was very interested in the back entrance to the field to be opened up. Now, I understand that you said it's not true. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. It's
All
all
right, Jackie.
lies in that letter.
Yes, because I lived right there. I'm at the end of 8th Street, okay, along with a couple other people that are here tonight. And that would be the last thing we would want to see. And 120 or 125 parking facilities there? No way. Anybody who needs a ride from the beginning of our schools to the back fields, you already provided for that. You have people going and taking these people, especially disabled people, who can't get that back there by walking. And secondly, the loud music. And one other question I would like is that what was the real reason to have that as a varsity field? Was that so you could have other people coming from other areas to use that? That was my question, and I would like an answer.
I don't know that, Lee, you were on the board. I don't know, when was that field done? That was done long before I was.
Excuse me.
It wasn't last year. It's been there for.
Can you answer, John? Just because I'm curious, how many years has the baseball field been done? Being all the way back there?
No, that's not true. That's done.
She
That
was
was
referring to
much.
the turf
It's
field,
it's
but
not.
it's
No,
been
it
there.
was done several
Are
years
you
ago.
referring to the turf field?
Sorry,
Are you referring to the turf field?
I'm referring to the varsity field at
Is
the
that the-
end of the school
Yeah,
property.
Is that the turf field? Yeah, that's the turf field, yeah.
It's definitely been there for several years. It's definitely not been in the last few years. And I think it's just a
It's a-
matter of space and where they could have put the baseball fields because they need a large space to do it. And it was put in the back. But it has certainly been there for quite some time.
Not that long. I'm here for almost 50 years, so I know what's going on over there. But that was placed and put together for our students, not to have anybody else from other districts come and utilize it. Okay? And I want to make sure that that never happens. They tried it, I don't know how many years ago. Mrs. Santi, I think, was on your board, and she tried to get that going, I think for AFL-CIO. It didn't work. But I want to make sure that it never works that way. That was built for our students. Our students should utilize it, and only our students. And it shouldn't be leased to anybody else. And then, if it did, you would have Sunrise Highway coming up 8th Street. That's not going to happen, okay? I have a question about the fencing that the school owns going straight across. It needs repair. I've called several times, but no one's done anything about it.
You could speak to him.
I could?
Yes, you can.
I will.
And as far as that letter goes, unfortunately, we are in political election season, so I think that letter was sent to everyone in your communities to
Yes.
get you aroused and upset
Yes.
on something that was not true. So
Okay.
unfortunately, you guys were kind of pawns in this part of this election process that hasn't been going as fairly as it should. So we want to apologize because there was no reason for you to be upset on something that was never true, was never going to happen. But unfortunately, somebody thought it was a great idea to rile up your community
Okay.
on false information.
I'm going to hold you to it.
And
But
I
thank you
I
very much.
apologize because unfortunately, the target is me, and I apologize that all of
I
you
know,
had to be
Jackie.
part of that.
As a
I
board,
apologize.
we've never discussed opening those backfields.
Yes, because we're right there. I mean, we hear, the kids are playing, the music, well, that's another story. You can hear it from your, I can hear it, and it's bang, bang, bang. Come on, play some nice music. I don't care, but some of it
Okay,
is
you
not.
can speak to John Allen.
Okay, well, thank you very much, people.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Number 3. 4. Do we have 4? 5. 6. 7, 8. Okay, 9. You're 8? Okay, 8.
I want to thank Dr. Adams, Ms. Poppy, and Mr. Kassane for meeting with me to discuss my curriculum concerns. As I stated in my email response, I'm continuing to do my due diligence to help our district remain vigilant on the curriculum. I want to bring up the Teacher Center, which is grant funded according to Education Law 316. I quote from the NYSED website, teacher centers provide direct assistance with the development and training of school district professional development planning committees and mentoring programs that are required under Commissioners Regulations 100.2. The centers are governed through Education Law 316 and Commissioners Regulations Part 81. SED has provided grants since 1984 for this, and we have had a teacher center for 20 plus years. It is my understanding that the Teacher Center offers courses that are tailored to our teachers, and they publish the vacancy notices, they interview candidates, and they select individuals to be hired. They forward all of the pertinent information to the LEA, the local education agency, which would be us, for purposes of appointment in accordance with state and local laws. At the 2019 reorg meeting, we allowed all CTA members to be able to teach these courses as the Teacher Center had asked for, and as the union had asked for. As an LEA, we have no rights or say in what the policy board of the Teacher Center does. The Teacher Center is basically an outside agency with whom we contract, and administration looks at the program that's delivering, not necessarily the presenter, and approves the program because it believes it meets a certain standard that is acceptable to administration toward movement on the salary schedule. So it would seem that our Board of Ed really has no say in anything the Teacher Center does other than to approve or not approve recommended appointments from them. Our administration only has a say on whether or not to approve a program recommended by them. And finally, according to what is on our website, the Teacher Center works directly in line with our Connecticut Teachers Association. So this leads me to the discussion that we had recently, that the district does not want CRT to be implemented here. And I heard that tonight, that you don't want it here. I discovered that there was a course taught between the dates of November 2nd and December 7th for a CTLE credit. The course was titled How to Be an Anti-Racist and was focused on the book of the same name by Ibram X. Kendi, which according to the Library Journal Review is a guide. Booklist, which is another review journal, states that the book inspires readers to consider whether ignorance or self-interest drives racist policies into reality. This course was taught, I won't mention the school or the teacher, but it was taught by one of our teachers. It was publicized by the policy board of the Teacher Center as an upcoming Connecticut Teacher Center course. In the policy board minutes, you'll find it from February 5th, 2021. It was also emailed to teachers and faculty to promote sign-up. The author of the book, Kendi, has been quoted saying, "In order to go beyond racism, we must first take into account of race. There's no other way." He also states, the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, and the only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. So let me be clear. DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, is not the same as diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's different. As one acronym, it's entirely different meaning and is synonymous with CRT. So I have to ask you, you claim there's no CRT.
And I understand that there is local control to some extent over the classroom, but where is the control over what the Teacher Center, the Connecticut Teachers Association, is training our teachers in? When they have a book like that, who's watching them? Where's the oversight? Because that's where your CRT is leaking in. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. Do we have any oversight of that?
Mrs. DiLorenzo, as you mentioned, there is a policy board. Can I just ask a question? When I missed it, or I thought I caught part of it, when was that course taught? What were the dates?
It was taught between, I know I did read very fast,
did.
but I had a lot on here. The dates of November 2nd and December 7th, and I could even email all this to you. It was taught
2021?
between there, yeah. And it was publicized on the February 5th, 2021 Policy Board minutes. It's written on their upcoming courses.
Jackie, would you mind emailing that to Ms. Poppy, please?
Yeah, I can definitely email it to all of you, if you'd like. Okay, so I want to bring it to your attention. If there's no oversight, somebody has to be watching this. There's your CRT in Connecticut.
Number 9.
Bye, Mr. Renko.
Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Veronica Angelo Heisman, and I have a question with regards to DEI and SEL, because it's very clearly stated on the NYSED website what's included and resources, et cetera. To what extent is Connecticut mandated to implement DEI? Where is the guidance coming from? And also SEL, where is the framework for that coming from? And what is mandated by the state for you to implement?
Mrs. Popper, do you want to respond to that?
You know what, Dr. Adams, do you just care to mention about the DEI policy that we haven't adopted?
So in September 2021, the Board of Regents put out to the field guidance on social emotional literacy, DEI, and they married together a lot of the acronyms that we were speaking about earlier. We are mandated as a school district to teach social emotional literacy, but not through the lens of CRT. That guidance document that was placed in 2021 by the State Education Department is in a pilot stage in certain school districts across the state. We chose not to pilot it. The way it's packaged right now, it actually, and Mrs. DiLorenzo and Mrs. Poppy and myself had a conversation about this about a week ago. It's packaged so that there are elements of CRT that are interwoven through the narrative. And we do not believe that it's appropriate. It's a theory that was promulgated by one specific person. It's not research-based, it's a theory. And quite frankly, it's a sophisticated theory that potentially should be something that people study in college if it's something that they want to. So New York State Education Department has put this guidelines together, said, hey, some school districts, please go out and do this. If you're going to do it, you should be putting together a DEI policy. I don't believe DEI in its amalgamation is what school districts do. I believe in each one of those concepts individually, and it's mandatory, in my opinion, as a school district to accept every child who comes to our door, give them what they need to be successful. To me, that's equity. Making sure that we include kids, no matter how differently abled they are. To me, that's inclusion. When I look at diversity, that's saying everybody who's in our community deserves the right to a free, appropriate public education that is equitable to make sure that they're moving forward to be successful. I don't see them as together. I see them as things that we do to make sure all of our kids are being successful. So we did not approve that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My daughter was a victim of Common Core, and unfortunately, when we had canned lessons and math came home and science, and even the 2018 midterm had elements of this. And I mean, I think we really need to be cautious about what is going out there, because it's one thing to ask a child to write an essay from 2 articles that they're given, but then to try to guide them and make them write an essay to support some other point of view that is totally against their viewpoint is really an issue. And I'm proud of her. She wrote a stellar essay that took a different perspective that was equally as, as valid. But it's been interwoven. And I'm glad we're not doing canned lessons like that, but it really is something you have to be careful for. It's woven into math lessons and social studies and science. It's not history. It's, and it's woven in. And I am a teacher. I knew some of the questions about I've done a lot of research on this. And at some point, you get mandated to do things. Like right now, it's like, here's a program, we want you to include some of this, but at some point, they're going to be standards. And our kids are going to have to, and then where do we go from there? Because the fight is not at the school board, the fight is at the government level and the state ed department and who we vote in. It's not, and I don't want to be political, but right now we have control over it. But we will not have control over it once you have standards, educational standards, because then our teachers are required to implement those and use the materials and the resources that follow with those standards. So, my daughter is a graduate, I'm a teacher, I am concerned about that in our community. I don't think that anybody wants that for their kids. They want them to be fair and get all the things that you spoke of diversity and equity and inclusion and respect for our peers and, and dealings with people, but we don't want brainwashing. And we don't want our kids to be, one group to be a victim and one group to be a perpetrator. That's not what you want to teach children. That's not what that's the last thing they're thinking about. They're thinking about playing, they're thinking about making friends, they're thinking about lunch. I mean, to put ideas in kids' heads like that at such a young age, is not good. I think we're better off teaching them to be citizens and, be good to each other, and that is really the root of it. Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 10?
I was at the meeting with my sister and Dr. Adams and Mrs. Poppy. And while I do appreciate that you told us how you try to weed out the CRT portions of the curriculum, and I do see that there is an attempt to do that. However, you yourself admitted, Dr. Adams, that you can't control the teachers in their classroom. And of course you can't. You're not in every classroom. Nobody knows what's going on in each classroom. And as my sister just pointed out, you can't control what the teachers courses they're taking on their own or with the CTA. They're taking these courses and then they're going back and they can do whatever they want in the classroom. So, and there is evidence of that. It's happening throughout the district. It's been happening for years. The most recent evidence is my 6th grade nephew at OBMS being assigned a website from blackpath.org, and it had Black Lives Matter on it. It has a section on critical race theory. He's a 6th grader, his OBMS social studies teacher. This was the only website they were told to use to research a topic. They were not given a selection of websites. They were told to use that one specifically. That is evidence of CRT in this district. You may not have approved it, but it was done in a 6th grade classroom. So it's there, whether you like it or not. And I understand that you can't control every classroom. I get that. But that's where you guys come in. That's where our Board of Ed trustees come in, your oversight. You're supposed to be watching. You're not going to catch everything, but when you do, you fix it. So I'm trying to understand why, Mrs. Kennedy, you would demand that Jackie retract her statement at a Meet the Candidates event about being, what did you say, you're opposed to CRT? You want to make sure it does not come into our district? You were offended by this comment.
I said I'm against CRT, and I know that there have been instances. I know that there have been instances that I had to reach out to Dr. Adams and send her emails of flyers. And am I telling the truth, Dr. Adams? There was a worksheet that I had to send her that I had parents sending me, Lee. So I did not lie. Unlike you, I give full transparency, whether it's good or bad, whether it makes me look good or bad. I always give transparency.
And I want to thank you for that, Jackie, because that's what you're there to do. You're supposed to watch for us. So I can't even understand how another trustee would demand you retract your ability to keep an eye out for things that this community does not want. You demanded she retract her statement at a campaign event. Give me a break. Okay, you demanded she retract what she said and speak to someone in your community.
School district that does CRT. That means we approve it.
By the way, Lee,
No, first of all,
This
it
is
was a
public
meet the
comment, not a
candidate.
discussion.
Why are we even discussing a meet the candidate, Lee? What are you discussing that? That's not appropriate for a board meeting. You're electioning. You are campaigning. Look at Marisol. Look, she's shaking her head. She's the fairest one here right now next to me at my lid. Brian, you're right there too, bud.
Oh, thank you. Can we let her finish speaking? How about that?
I'm good. I know. I want to thank you, Jackie, for performing oversight. I hope all of our trustees do that, and you keep an eye out for stuff like this, because it's out there. It's trying to come into this district, and it is coming in. Whether you approve it or not, it is in the classrooms all the time. All the time. And it's been there for years. Years. Going back before it even had a name. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Out of respect, I wasn't going to leave because I was given number 11. I just want to put it to rest that I am a resident on 8th Street. My neighbor spoke previously. That is false. Okay? We're going to put it to rest that, okay. I just want
100%
to
false.
confirm it.
And I
Okay.
apologize that you were all collateral
Okay.
damage.
We
I
just want to
apologize.
confirm it. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.
I'm gonna be like all over the place, guys. The CRT thing, I think that totally started when the Common Core, I had said that, I don't know, 2-3 years ago at a Board of Ed meeting. So it's definitely being taught in the school. There was a teacher who asked the kids to pick a famous quote, but it can't be political, like a political quote. And my son picked one. It said something like, I know you're afraid, stand strong, hold your ground, this too shall pass, and something to that effect. Actually, Mr. Piombo knows about it. And the teacher told him it was too political because it was by Donald Trump. And she let him pick a Cat in the Hat book or a Dr. Seuss quote, which was even more political, and she let him keep that. So my child knows her whole standings on political stuff, which he shouldn't even know. I never knew if my teacher was married. I never knew if she had brothers and sisters, never nothing. I know we're in a new day and age, but the teacher was totally showing her colors, put it that way. I also want to talk about a couple of the books. Everybody was talking about the books that are in the schools. There's a book that I would like to know if it is in our library, that it be removed. It's called Gender Queer. Have you heard of it? Yes. And you saw the pictures? Okay, that it's in comic strip form for children, very strange. I would like for that to be removed from the library.
It was a challenged book, and it has now been returned to the library with a mature label on it, and a child who is underage, so anyone who's under 18 must have a parental permission slip to take the book out.
Okay, I think we would like to, so are there Playboy books up in there? Are there Playboy books up in the library? Because that's a porn book. It's not a Playboy book, that's porn. And I would like to have it removed from the library. And if anybody would like to look it up, it is disgusting that it's even available to the kids. They're kids, they probably all know about it, they probably all took it out, you know, it's the secret book in the corner. And there was another book also, I know you had said you would like to bring in psychologists and everything now because all the children's mental health issues now, and that that's what the social emotional learning is all about. But I know that there is a lot going on with the teachers union and everything, and I wanted to know, I got 6 mailings from the teachers union for their candidate. Are they allowed to do that? The Connecticut teachers, they can pick a candidate without asking anybody's permission? And yes, I don't know, I'm asking.
They're a private organization.
Oh, okay, so they're a private organization? All right, because I didn't know, I just was wondering, how come the teachers union, I thought that they worked for, us for the district, but. Okay, I didn't know that.
They work for their members. They don't work for the community.
Okay, I was just,
Your time is up. I don't want to.
all right, I just want to hand in this petition. A couple of people have gotten together and wrote a petition, over 100 signatures, for the comment that Mr. Lindell had made that he had caught COVID. Oh,
Personnel, we don't
I'm
mention
sorry.
names.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to leave it here. Is that okay? And please get that book out of the library. I mean, it's really horrible.
Number 12? Huh? 13? 14? Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Yeah.
One more thing. What happens to the communication with the community and like Ms. Adams, like doing a robocall or whatever, the literacy library?
Okay, you know what? Why don't you write her an email, because she doesn't even know what you're talking about at this point, and it's over. Yeah. I can make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody.